Strap yourself in, boys. Witness this boil on the face of reality that is Jimguistical, playing as the Plague Champion on Leviathan Hive. Going to be facing up against Jaybob. Looks really weird without it being a capital. Interesting that they've both opted for the non-capitalised J. Big map to be playing the Plague Champion, that's for sure. We'll see how he can do actually handling the map control up against an IG player. This is sloppy Saturdays, so yeah, strap yourself in for a wild ride. You never know what you're going to get. Straight away, Jimguistical, you need to be shift clicking, my man. Hold down the shift button, and then you can right click to cap that point, right click to cap that point, and then right click here, and your Plague Champion will go over, cap the point, and as soon as he's finished, he'll move over and start capping that. So you don't have him idling. Now it doesn't matter in this instance, he's rotating his Plague Champion over this way to deal with the Sentinel, which is good, because the Sentinel has found the Heretics. That is not an engagement you want as the Chaos player. The Heretics are useless against the Sentinel, unless you can somehow get lucky and surround the Sentinel with 8 Heretics. You know, if you actually somehow do surround the Sentinel with 8 Heretics, you can completely pin it in place, because it can't move. But the Sentinel's faster than Heretics, so yeah, I don't know how you're going to do that. Can be funny though if the opponent messes up the micro. Honestly, I'm going to have to do a fucking guide on even just basic commands like shift clicking and all that. I will get it out at some point. I've been writing a bunch of scripts for it and stuff, but God, you do one thing in this game and then you realise, but that interacts with this mechanic. Or you use another mechanic to explain why you should do one mechanic, and you just go down this rabbit hole of complexity and it never seems to end. And that's a problem. But we'll do it one day. So Lord General here, scrapping in melee for way too long. It's not that big of a deal normally with heroes, but with Lord General it kind of sucks because that's 50 requisition the IG player has just thrown away. Very, very ballsy play from Jimguistical there with his AC ticks. Probably should have retreated them a little bit sooner as well, but they did good work. I don't really know why the Heretics are charging forward here. It doesn't really feel like it's worth it. It's gonna work. I guess Stomp's on cooldown. Should be off cooldown soon, right? Yeah. No repairs on the Sentinel though. Man, that is a lot of dead Heretics. I feel like against a higher level player that wouldn't have worked. You'd just bled loads of Heretics and not really achieved a whole lot. You'd be better off just keeping them back, healing up your 2 ranged units that will eventually force off the Sentinel Guardsman combo. So I noticed something here from Jaybob. I have to assume that he doesn't have auto reinforce on. Maybe I don't know, maybe he does. He's reinforcing these instantly. What about you? Yeah, I don't know, maybe they've got it on. Something to consider, a lot of people don't realise there's even an auto-reinforce mechanic. You know, right-click that reinforce button, get that shit calling in. It's nearly always worth it, to be honest. Only perhaps if you've got fully upgraded Guardsmen, you don't want it on. Unless they've actually lost 3 models. You know, if you have Commissar and Sergeant, your Guardsmen are reinforced 3 for 1. But even if you only lose 1 model, if you pay to reinforce that model, it's going to cost you just as much as reinforcing 3. So those kind of instances you might want it turned off, but usually you always want it on. So here we go, we've got move being activated, the ability from the grenade launchers of the Lord General, just as an AoE speed buff. We've got Kadashan Devils on the field. Can be a scary combo against heavy infantry marines. Move on Kadashan Devils with their extra movement speed to just get into retreat with the power melee. Should be a shotgun blast on the ticks here. Yeah, easily dealt with. This is a bad engagement for Chaos. They shouldn't even be here. There's no reason to be taking this fight with the Heretics. They're just going to bleed lows, and as you can see, they got melted. Just so much ranged focus fire here. And it was obvious that there was nothing in play here to help them win. They need the Noise Marines to shut down the Kadashans. Without the Noise Marines being present in that fight, it should have just been an instant retreat from the Heretics. I mean, God, look at that. 4 heretics down and 6 heretics down, so 10 dead heretics there for really no advantage at all. He delayed the decap for a few seconds, it would be better to just retreat. Turret goes up over here. This is an interesting turret positioning. Obviously it does protect this side, but it can be flanked from both here and here, so... I mean, Jimguistical is going to have to commit now to defending this flank quite a lot, or that turret is going to be a wasted investment. Jaybob actually could probably put some good pressure onto it right now, but he's not aware because he hasn't seen the turret yet. He's going to back off, he's got to defend his gen farm. Battle Spewer is up on the Plague Champion, giving him a little flamer. Oh, cheeky time in there with the power node, going to prevent the decap. I don't think he'd have got it anyway. There's enough range DPS coming in right now that I don't think he'd have had the time to decap. Grenade launchers on either side here. We've got one squad of grenade launcher heretics. The grenade launcher Lord General actually is really good against grenade launcher heretics because they have so little HP per model compared to the Lord General. He can easily outtrade them in any sort of grenade launcher battle. And again, the Chaos Heretics with the AC just kind of charging in when Cadishans are there. They're just going to get shotgun blasted and shot to pieces. Cadishans now just run into melee with the CSM. Yeah, and this is an easy win for Jaybob. I think Jimguistical needs to have his tier 1.5 in his army for these big engagements. Like right then, the Noise Marines weren't present. The upgraded Plague Champion wasn't present. This is a waste. This is not going to get any value, I can almost guarantee it. Against low level players, you might be able to hit these Blight Grenades and they do devastating damage, but against high level players, they see it coming from a mile off, because you get the Grenade Indicator, the Plague Champion's slower than average, and it's got quite a short range. So the only really way you can hit it against a high level player is if you combine it with a Snare. To be fair, he does have the Snare from the Battle Spewer. So we could shoot out the Bilious Discharge, snare them, then move in and Blight Nade them. That could be okay. But alternatively, you would combine it with Doom Blast, the suppression from the Raptors, or the suppression from Havocs. And he obviously doesn't have Raptors or Havocs, and we've seen what happens when the Aspiring Champion Heretics just run into melee here. It's not working, they're just getting Shotgun Blast before they can even get the Doom Blast off. I'd like to see Jimguistical rely less on his Heretics in combat, especially the melee ones. They are nice sidecapping units because they can take anything on 1v1 except the Cadishans. So I think he should be relying on that, and I'd like to see him rely more on his Noise Marines in big army fights. And that's generally what you want to do against IG. You want to have mass range to fight them in the army versus army fights, and then you want to put melee troops on the sidelines, because IG, they struggle with sending one unit away onto the sidelines. Like, what are they going to do? Send a guardsman off? Well, there's two problems with that. Firstly, you've lost repair support for your sentinel big time, and secondly, you now have guardsmen on the sidelines which can't 1v1 anything. So, okay, here you go. Kind of what I'd call a cold attempt at a Blight Grenade there, but it actually worked out. Jaybob obviously not being the most experienced player, he could have easily just walked backwards and dodged that. No reason at all to need to retreat both the Guardsman squads if he managed to do it in time. Turret should be able to survive here if the Noise Marines can hurry up and get forward, yeah. Good choice by Jaybob though not to commit too heavily to that. Oh my god, he might lose them still. Yeah, god, if he waited any longer, that would have been a wiped Cadishans squad, and that would have put him in a really poor position. Big float from Jim. Massive float, he needs to be tier 2, yeah, okay. He's on it, he's on it. He did waste a lot of time. I think Jaybob now is getting a little bit obsessed with the turret, probably feeling the pressure of the fact that he's getting a 2-to-1 cap against him, but honestly, it doesn't matter. You've got a pretty sizable VP lead, over 100 VPs on your opponent. This is really early in the game, you've still got 400 VPs, don't worry about this, it's fine. As soon as you force off the main Chaos Army here, you just come around here, you'll destroy the turret in seconds, don't worry about it. But I get the impression the way he's sort of loitering with his Lord General here, he's sort of hyper-focusing on that turret, and that's a big problem for Jaybob. That Lord General could do with being elsewhere, and I think he's just diverting too much attention to this side of the map when it's really not that important right now. So Jaybob does get to tier 2 first. His first choice is some Ogrins, and he's got the Sentinel Missile Launcher too. No Sergeant yet, no Commissars. Might see some of them soon. These heretics, okay, good. This time they recognise there's absolutely no point staying in and get out of there. So I wonder what Jim's going to be getting in tier 2. I mean, looking at this composition, it's actually quite hard. Like, you don't want a Dreadnought, because the Ogrins are going to chop it up. You probably want your Mark of Zenith Space Marines as soon as possible to take out this Sentinel ASAP, because it's going to be a problem with that missile launcher. Honestly, given that there's Ogrins, Bloodletters might not even be a bad shout here. Yeah. Normally you don't like Bloodletters against IG because Bloodletters are light infantry. And IG get a lot of piercing DPS with their las guns, their shotguns, their multi-lasers. Oh my god, look at that old reliable. Softened them up with the frag missiles from the Sentinel and then old reliable them. Could do with getting an aspiring champion on these heretics to stop this from happening. Gotta be careful with the IED, don't just run on top of it. Oh my god. Jim, no! Another 8 dead heretics, that's so bad. That was a beautiful Blastmaster shot firing over the hill. Wow. Oh my god. Caduceus needs to be very careful. The problem is that this is a pretty devastating flank that's coming up right now. Jim has been bleeding heretics like crazy all game. I don't even want to think about how many he's lost so far. Must be at least 30. Maybe more. Oh, there you go. Blastmaster takes out the Sentinel. Blastmasters are so good against IG. I don't know what the Sentinel was doing there. All he needed to do was send the Ogrins in. Man, I never knew how good the Blastmaster is on this map, firing over these walls. Wow. It's doing amazing. Noxious Cloud is called in, but not going to do that much against Ogrins. Bloodletters need to jump onto the turret ASAP to kill these Ogrins. Nah, it's too late. They're going to destroy it. Creeping Basilisk Barrage used here to push the units away, but honestly, kind of a waste. The Ogrins got to get out of there anyway, and they were going to destroy the turret. But I like the idea. If he used it a bit sooner, that would have been a really nice play to guarantee that he'd have enough time with his Ogrins to finish off the turret. Wouldn't have applied anyway, because the Bloodletter should have just teleported on top of the Ogrins there. But I like the concept. So, Plague Fist is now out, Armour of Pestilence as well. I guess the Bile Spear was worth it, he did get a good bit of gem bashing off with it, so that's fine. Plague Fist won't be bad here, it'll help him against the Ogrins. Now, if he hadn't bought the Blight Grenades, I'd say get the Icon of Nurgle now. Kinda feels a bit... well, it's probably not worth paying the resources for the Icon of Nurgle if you're also sacrificing the Blight Grenades. But it's generally a very good combo against IG. Because that way, you know, when you're chasing units with a Power Fist, you're only killing one model at a time, hitting very slowly. Which kind of sucks. But if you have the Icon of Nurgle, you're doing AoE damage to everyone around you, so... it's very nice against the high model squads that the IG relies on. And instances like that as well, where you're capping, you're still doing damage to the Caduceans, which is nice. Well, General's got to be careful here. The Bloodletters are going to do some serious damage to him. Under Worship as well. Oh, nice special attack. Should be able to finish off the Lord General, then phase out. Well, don't even need to, actually. They're under Worship. Ogrins have used their Ed. And by that I mean they've used their ability to use your Ed. Bloodletters should just turn around and rip up the Guardsmen. Dude, I don't like taking this fight now that they haven't got Worship support. They'd have been fine with the Worship support, but... yeah, the fire support from the Guardsmen is a bit much here. The Bloodletters don't want to be taking this. What is he doing? No, Jim. Oh, Jim. Throws away his Bloodletters. They could have took that fight before when they were under Worship. And then if the Ogrins tried to kill the Heretics, you Doom Blast and run away and the Bloodletters hack away at them whilst they're suppressed. But to try and take it there with no Worship while the Guardsmen were shooting in? No, not a good idea. Anyway, Jim said, I've had enough of that, I'm off tier 3 anyway, I don't want those Bloodletters, I want a Great and Clean one. And Jay's getting some Stormtroopers out. I guess, well, you know, Stormtroopers are never a bad idea, are they? They're very versatile. help him gain a bit of the map control. I'd really like to see a sergeant on the Cadishans. I feel like these Cadishan Devils have been putting in crazy high amounts of work. Oh, look at this. Chosen Plague Marines. No tier 3. Cancelled it. Went for Chosen Plague Marines instead. Not a bad shout, actually. They will fare very well against the Ogrins. They're a bit more resilient than Bloodletters to the piercing pew-pew. But they're slow. Really slow compared to Bloodletters. They don't do as much damage either. Certainly in short bursts. But we'll see, they're tanky boys. They will do better 1v1 against Ogrins. But Jay really does have all the tools he needs to just kite these guys and shoot them to death. That was a pointless Doom Blast. There was no way that Doom Blast was ever going to contribute much to killing these Cadishan Devils. Just a waste of another Heretic model. Just default Stormtroopers so far. Guardsmen here going to fall back a bit. There's just not enough stopping power from these weapons here to really do that much. They're in yellow cover, they got Nurgle Worship, but yeah, they're just going to shrug off those shots. They are, believe it or not, light infantry Chosen Plague Marines, so the plasma guns aren't helping much here at all. They do have such high damage compared to las guns to plasma guns that even though they do, I think it's half damage to light infantry, it still ends up being more than a las gun, but not much more. So against Chosen Plague Marines, it's simply not going to be good enough. Could do with some of them hotshot las guns from the Stormtroopers, that would help. When did Jay lose a Guardsman squad? I didn't even notice. At some point he lost a Guardsman squad. When did that happen? So compositionally right now, this is looking pretty good for Jim. It's not a good counter to the Chosen Plague Marines, they were actually quite a good choice. Especially having lost the second Guardsman, you know, that's just less pew-pew on the field to focus fire those Chosen Plague Marines, and the Ogrins really do not want to get into melee with those guys. VPs are super even. Oh, look at this! Global ability from the Lord General used, instantly dropping in a Lehman Russ battle tank as soon as Jaybob got to tier 3. So that'll swing things in the favour of the Ogrins if they can hurry up and get down here. Come on, Lehman, we need you. Stormtroopers are contributing. Yeah, this is looking good now. The Chosen Plague Marines have got worship support, but that's it. They've got 3 squads firing in on them, and the Lehman Russ. That's going to be enough pew-pew. Plasma pistols, though, are really hurting the Ogrins. Yeah, it looks like the plasma pistols actually killed an Ogrin there, but the Lehman Russ kills the Chosen Plague Marine, so there you go. 1 for 1. Both of them retreat out of there. Looks like Jim's choosing to stay tier 2. I don't think it's a terrible idea. Looks like he was floating tremendously, though. He could have been tier 3 a long time ago, which would be better. Still, what are you going to get? You're not going to get a Predator to try and 1v1 a Lehman Russ. I mean, you could, but it would be a stupid idea. If that Lehman Russ goes for a Vanquisher cannon, it should be able to 1v1 a Predator quite easily. So you need combined AV. Predators, they do more burst damage than Lehman Russ, and they're faster. But they got less range and they've got less HP. So you need to snare it with a las cannon or a Plague Marine squad, and then you can start sort of working on it. Here we go, we got Bullgrins now. Oh man. This is looking pretty rough for Jim. He needs to get out of tier 2. He's got to get out of tier 2, because he's fighting multiple tier 3 threats right now. Next thing, Jay could bring out some Kassakin, and you know, at that point things are getting a little bit out of control for all the tier 2 Chaos units. His composition was good. I like the Chosen Plague Marine choice, and I don't mind this Plague Marine choice either. He's got the snare now, so now he needs to go tier 3 and get a las cannon Predator. Snare the tank with the Plague Marine so it can't run away, and then you move in and out with your Predator, utilising its extra speed, smashing it with the las cannon. He's got ample power, so that shouldn't be too big of a problem. Creeping Basilisk Barrage going down, let's see, does it hit? I think Jim was a bit worried that was a rocket run. Not a terrible idea, it could have been a rocket run. I mean, Jaybob has used quite a lot of Creeping Basilisk Barrages, and of course he used the Global to call in the Lehman Russ, but Jim doesn't know that. He doesn't know it was the Global. Could very well have been a manual one. Okay, Plague Champion routs the Stormtroopers. A little bit of miss micro there from Jay. The Stormtroopers could have easily just kited him and shot him to pieces. It's part of the problem when you don't have the icon of Nurgle. Chosen Plague Marine's just been a pain in the ass. Look how tanky they are, man. It takes so long to kill. Doesn't help that the rate of fire on the Lehman battle cannon's terribly slow. That was some good splash damage though. Can try and heal it off with the worship. Still no Mac of Zinch on the CSM, which is questionable given that there's been Ogrins on the field for a long time. That would have been quite handy. Try and take these guys out a bit sooner. Here the Bullgrins go, extra tanky Ogrins. No ranged weapon, and they lose the ability to use your red. Instead they have an AoE electric charge ability which suppresses enemies nearby. So they're more of a tanky crowd control unit. Less offensive, obviously not having that solid range DPS and the extra charge speed. Not achieving a whole lot there. I mean, they did kind of mindlessly walk forward into the full Chaos Army there, which was not ideal. It would have took a lot more damage though if there was Mark of Zinch on the field. Okay, so a little bit of a miss micro here from the Lehman Russ. I don't know what's going on. Cadishans are not forcing melee on the Plague Marines. That was evidently a mistake. Lehman Russ needs to keep moving. These Plague Marines will hunt it down. It looks like it's going to be an Executioner Cannon. Executioner Cannon is going to do way more damage here, but it's kind of scary because it's short range. And honestly, I think I'd rather just stay at long range from the Plague Marines. I don't think I want to be getting close to them. Fuck the DPS, just slowly bleed them over time. Guardsman doing great work down here, capping the natural VP off Jim. And the Bullgrins come out again. I suppose, as long as you keep the Bullgrins with the Lehman, so the Bullgrins can constantly keep the Plague Marines tied up, then things should be pretty good. Again, Noxious Cloud being summoned by Jim against Bullgrins. It's just not going to do anything. They don't want the fight against the CPM, not with this low HP. Yeah, they got to get out of there. The Executioner will put in some great work against these CPM. Jay needs to get some repair support over here though. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, look at that. DPS is amazing on this thing. As long as the Plague Marines aren't around, this thing can just annihilate Jim's forces. But he needs to repair it. Where are the Guardsmen now? Okay, they retreated back to the base. Yeah, they just finished capping this point and retreated back. I think maybe start sending the Cadishans down this side. Probably getting a lot of value out of the hotshot lasguns here, just shooting Plague Marines, so you want them on the side of the Lehman Russ. Here we go, Guardsman finally catching up to the Lehman Russ. They're going to get some repairs going. Should be good for him. Probably also want to be getting the Commissar and Sergeant on the Lord General now, just to make him a lot tankier. And then just throw him into melee with the Plague Marines. Tie them up constantly. Ooh, miss macro here. Didn't see the Black Grenade coming. That's what I was saying. Low level games, man. When those Black Grenades actually hit, they're brutal. But in a high level game, that would have just been easily dodged. Okay, so the Bullgrins and the Lord General are leading the charge. Each of them can tie up a separate Plague Marine squad, so the Lehman Russ can move forward. The only problem is the Lehman Russ Executioner will cause some heavy damage to the Bullgrins as well if they're in melee, and it's shooting Plague Marines nearby. Bad spot for the Plague Champion here, could easily die and retreat to the Bullgrins. Let's see, slap, slap, slap. Yep, take him out. Nice. But I guess Jim's not too bothered. The Cadishans did come down this far side, so that's nice. There was a potential to wipe them there and retreat. Okay, Jim's noticed it at last. That was a good Doom Blast. and that is a wipe of the Cadishans, and that is going to help Jim quite a bit. Jim needs to be getting tier 3. It appears that Jaybob, on the other hand, has been floating quite a bit. I feel like he could have got these KD and Kasakins out a long time ago, but nonetheless, here they come now. Really like this CPM, they've done very nicely. I guess once you recognise that I've wiped the other Guardsman squad, so we've took off a lot of piercing DPS from the field, the Sentinel's gone. The Lord General doesn't have any piercing DPS because he's got grenade launchers, and you've got Ogres to deal with. It makes these CPM a very good choice. Finally, see the mark of Zinch on the CSM. I'm a little bit surprised that Jim hasn't gone tier 3, I must admit. But it's working for him so far. Wait, are they... He's got Bloodletters as well. Okay, he shouldn't have got the Bloodletters. He should have gone tier 3. He needs a twin-linked Lascannon Predator. Heavy turret in the back here, that's interesting. I must admit, I'm a little bit confused why Jay has decided to build that heavy turret. I do not feel that is what he needs right now. I mean, the effective DPS of that heavy turret versus infantry is really, really low. You're much better off. Well, you're much better off getting anything, really. This is a good Creeping Basilisk barrage, I like that. Secures the retreat of his Bulgarins without losing any models there. Good barrage. And you see, that forces off the main force. Jay should be pushing now to put the pressure on the VPs, taking that natural VP from Jim. He's not. Yeah, I mean, Jim has a lot of units right now. He's got those Bloodletters too. He's rocking the what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus a hero. So there is a lot going on right now. But that's the thing too. Like, you're building all these units, but none of them are individually that powerful. I wouldn't have got the Bloodletters. CSM walking forward into Kasakin and an Executioner Lehman Russ is not fun. Not where they want to be. Do you see how fast that fucking Executioner melted that CSM squad? Jim's gonna make a play. He's gonna make a play. He needs to get these VPs. The VPs are getting very precarious for him now. 63 VPs are all he has. And 150 plus for Jay. I really feel like if he, instead of going for those Bloodletters, went tier 3 and could get a Lascannon Predator out, if he kills this Lehman Russ, I feel like he's just in such a good spot. Right now, the flank from the Lehman Russ is going to be brutal. Yes, they can rotate to shoot the Lehman, but there's just so much DPS coming out. Kasakin, when they kill models, they inspire all nearby troops to do more damage. So with the Kasakin, what you do here, when you've got the Guardsmen and the Stormtroopers nearby, you shoot the Heretics with the Kasakin, and then you just get boom, 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 loads of procs of your inspiration because the Heretics die so quick, and then your Stormtroopers and Guardsmen are doing nearly 50% more DPS. And then you can turn and deal with the Plague Marines afterwards. See, this heavy turret's not doing jack shit. Like I say, the effective DPS versus infantry is horrible. I mean, it's just shooting the terrain. Even when it's not. It's more of a anti-vehicle weapon. Or like anti-setup team, anti-hero. And it just gets ripped to pieces by the Chaos Melee here. Okay, Stormtroopers are on the VP again. This is now becoming a bit of a VP scramble. Bloodletters just capping while the Plague Marines delay, just stalling for as long as possible. What's going over here? Some Plague Marines are going up to the north, but see, the Plague Marines don't do a lot of damage, so they're going to take a lot of time to force off those Stormtroopers, and they're not going to actually prevent the cap, which is a problem. Oh, the Heretics just wiped? They did. Kasakin cap faster than normal as well, so it's going to help them out a lot. Yeah, and the VP should be normalized pretty quickly. Oh, the Plague Marines here are going to wipe. Did they eat a grenade? They might have eaten a grenade. They seem to have lost a lot of HP very quickly. Another heavy turret dropped in by Jay. It's rather pointless. I don't know why he's doing that. I understand it's something on the field immediately, but just chill out, man. You've got 100 VPs, it's fine. You don't need to drop this crap. Get some proper units. What could he get here? I mean, he could just get more stormtroopers. Get more stormtroopers. Nearly all these threats he's fighting are actually light infantry. You've got the heavy infantry CSM, but these are light infantry, these are light infantry, these are more CPM. Wow. Yeah, assault kit stormtroopers would be great right now. Rather than these silly heavy turrets. And the other thing with the stormtroopers, you obviously can infiltrate them and sneak them down the bottom to get decaps to help you with this VP battle. Another creeping basilisk barrage. Now that is a beautiful barrage if it hits these CSM, and it does, and now it's going to clean this whole passageway out. So these CPM are isolated, they're going to get wrecked. Beautiful, beautiful creeping basilisk barrage to secure the win there. Would have liked to see more upgrades on the Lord General as well. I really feel like the Commissar is quite nice. If you're not aware, the Commissar, you don't get him just for the ability, which is fine. It's a really good ability, the AoE shield that protects the Lord General from range damage. The main advantage of the Commissar is the actual Commissar himself is a decent fighter, and he buffs the damage of every other model in the Lord General retinue by 15%. Likewise, if you get the Sergeant, he's a shit fighter, he's really worthless, he's like a Guardsman Sergeant, terrible. But he buffs the HP of every other model, including himself, by 15% in the squad. So if you get the Commissar and the Sergeant, all of a sudden, the Lord General himself actually becomes pretty damn good in melee, because he's got 15% extra damage and 15% extra HP, and just everyone in the squad becomes substantially more tanky. So it's not a bad shout, and then you can just force melee on these Plague Marines that have been harassing you. Obviously, you still want to stay well clear of the Chosen Plague Marines and the Bloodletters, but there you have it. That was a pretty good game actually for Sloppy Saturdays. Very close battle. Obviously, lots of things to improve on, and some slightly eccentric build order choices that actually worked out very well. I loved the Chosen Plague Marines, the initial one. Not so sure about getting a second one in the late game there, but I think we've gone over that one a fair bit. Hopefully you did enjoy that, guys. If you did, please leave a like and a comment, and if you want more of this kind of thing, then you can find it on Patreon. Torpid out.